Hello and welcome to Neverwinter Nights, and this will be part 41. Last episode was mainly spent listening to Arabeth. So, our next step we've been told to go to is in the direction of Charwood, but leveling, you need to gain some experience, and of course, because of that, you are sort of required to do side quests, of which there are quite a few in Chapter 2. It is by far the longest chapter in this game. But before we go anywhere, I actually bumped into the NPC I was looking for. I finally found her. She herself is not super important as such, but it's just the way she's behaving now and the way she ends up behaving later.
Hello, sir. I don't recognize you. You must be new in these parts.
She's basically flirting with anything that looks like it could be a strong adventure, and she believes that Port Last is a dump. She hates the place and she is willing to do just about anything to get out of it, which might come back and bite her at some point. Who knows? But as soon as I can get my bearings, I did, off recording, sort out my inventory. As you can see, it's nice and clean right now. Of course, that won't last because you keep picking up random scrap from time to time, but I did manage to get it tidied up and the bags of holding are empty as well. So, South Road. Let's see if we can bump into some random animals that will get punched to the senses. Dolphins. Well, I suppose they are aggressive, so they're sort of asking for it themselves. Ish, maybe. The thing is that we still have a handful of side quests. We have the werewolf hunter. We have the tomes for the mage vendor thing. And of course we have the gems for the elf in the inn. And while they are not strictly tied to the main story, main quest, it is beneficial to do them because the expected level range for chapter 2 seems to be around level 14, so you definitely want to be around that level when you're done. There's an awful lot of different caves on the different areas, and while they may not themselves indicate what they are, because of course it's just got a generic description called cave, you can usually get some sort of idea what is in the cave based on what is outside of the cave. So we are facing an awful lot of wolves at the moment, so I wonder if we're going to bump into something wolf related. That might be the case, you never know. Should be getting relatively close to leveling. More. Not taking an awful lot of damage from these wolves. My armor class at the moment is 30, and it's decent, but it's not great. I guess for someone not wearing any armor, it is rather nice, but of course because of the dexterity and dodge modifiers in general being the main factor for monks. If you are paralyzed or stunned, where of course you cannot, because you can't move, so you can't evade, you lose all those kind of bonuses. Your armor class is going to be absolutely rubbish, whereas someone A heavy plate armor, of course, will always have that armor class. They will not have that dexterity bonus, but someone wearing a heavy plate probably don't care, because they probably won't have much, if any, to begin with. So the biggest issue with the monk, specifically when you're going the wisdom route, is that later on in the game, not so much now it's pretty balanced, but later on in the game, you will find it surprisingly difficult to hit stuff, because of course their levels go up and their equipment goes up as well. So they will get progressively better and better equipment, and I don't know what levels they are, but some of them seem to be some obscene levels in truth, based on their attack bonuses. It could be super specialized warriors, I suppose, but even if you consider specialization, strength bonuses, and whatever else they might have, some of them are borderlining ridiculous in their to-hit bonuses. So, we don't want to quite go there just yet. I like scouting the area first and get any riff-raff dealt with. I know that sounds a bit rude, but I'm sort of serious about it, because it's just there will be some minor respawning going on, but not an awful lot, thankfully. It seems to be a bit hit and miss, in truth. So let's see what we can find in here. Oh, leveled up. The magic level 10. And yes, I did cut out rerolls until I got maximum hit points. Please notice we get key strike +1, and of course a third attack. The third attack can be very, very nice. Key strike +1 doesn't give any to-hit bonuses of any kind, but what it does is, if there's an enemy that can only be hit by a basic level of magical weapons, which would mean +1, your fist, the monk's fist, now count as being a +1 weapon for that purpose. We're bumping into one of the lycanthropy even infested young men, and wasn't too difficult to deal with. So of course we have to just ask the questions about where the others are, just in case some new information pops up, and then persuade him into wearing silver, which of course is normally quite dangerous to werewolves, but we will manage to persuade him. So he will be cured of his state and decides it's time to run off and going out and feel alive again instead of feeling wolfish. So we got his wing, and we can stack that with the other wing. Next up, there's some quite decent experience giving enemies in here, especially this dire bear. But this is just a bonus loot area. There's nothing related to anything, but I still want to do it, partially to get the experience for dealing with something like this dire bear, even though it can easily do some serious damage, and I had to run away and heal at one point, which will come up in a moment. That is the great thing about having a high tumbling skill, is especially because of course monks move much faster, and with the rope have a quick that gives haste, can basically disengage at any time and run into a corner somewhere and heal, and be ready for when the enemy finally catches up. Obviously any other character with high tumbling skill could do the same, but of course not being able to run away from your enemy makes it a bit harder, but the monk is much more blessed in that direction. And I'm using a healing kit because you do use a dice roll once you're in combat. It's only outside of combat that you automatically take a 20, as it's called. But the potential for a higher heal and a healing potion is definitely present, and that's why I made use of it. So, should be almost done with this. $525 experience. A nice little chunk. There's a locked door we have to punch through, and then work our way down behind the main bit of the cave. Skipping a bit of killing random wolves mainly, and breaking this door, finding this very important diary, because it gives us, or it's a treatise of forgotten heroes. It gives us information that we will need in the next area. I can't remember what I mentioned it earlier in the series, but I may have mumbled something about a quest that required, not a quest, but an area transition that required a certain amount of constitution, and I couldn't remember whether it was in this game or not, but it is in this game. I can't remember how much constitution you need. I think it's 16. But we need to respond this rather cheerful guy who is waiting to be replaced in his guard post position. And we have to answer a riddle. Of course, because we found the diary, we know the answer to that riddle, and he claims that we couldn't possibly know, and we show him the journal because, well, fair's fair. His comments are quite funny, but he moans a bit and says he should have stepped into the light when he had the chance. This helmet is a watchman's helmet, which gives various bonuses to spot and listen, which is basically an anti-rogue helmet, but I never find it to be of particular even usefulness in this game specifically. Neverwinter Nights 2 is a completely different matter, because you will face bucket loads of rogues. Lanius Tower we need to get to, because of course we have a gem we need to get, and because we got the ward stone, the troll will not try to contest our presence in the area. There's a side cave, so that means there's a side entrance, and of course it's always more cool to go through side entrances than the main door. So doing a bit of looting and then heading onwards. Now, because we have the ward stone, none of these enemies in this area are actually hostile, which means that we are losing out on a bit of experience, but it's a price to pay, I suppose. One of the tomes for the magic item vendor. And after a bit of running around looting and whatnot, let's go up and say hi to Vanio himself. After we have looted this area. Of course, he's not overly happy about having intruders, so he tries to put up a fight, but a knockdown against someone who can't have discipline skill. Discipline, by the way, I'm fairly sure is a skill that was required for the game engine to function properly. I'm fairly sure it's not necessarily a skill in Dungeons & Dragons, but it is a skill in the game, and of course it's used to counteract the effects of combat feats, such as knockdown, disarm, and whatnot. Anyway, he heals, and we mentioned the gem that we've been told to get, and he says that he can't get it because this basement thing has been overrun by his imp learning how to summon demons and decided that summoning a lot of demons would be a lot of fun. So of course we lecture him about us being able to beat him, and therefore we must be stronger than him. So just because he can't get it doesn't mean we can't. And he asks us to punch the light out of his imp and take its heart and use it on the brazier, because that will close the portal. So time to speed things up. Instead of cutting it, I decided to speed it up, because if I had cut it, the episode would be rather short. This is the portal we need to shut down. I decided to just run straight to our target, not stopping for loot, and do that on the way back. These imps and closets and whatever they are called are just a nuisance more so than anything else. Don't exactly pose much of a challenge. I guess without evasion, improved evasion, spell resistance and all that stuff, you would probably take some minor damage, but nothing that you can't manage. I know the game world has to feel alive and all that stuff, and I understand why there are so many enemies in the different areas, but it can get rather tiresome, to be honest. You can sort of run away from them if you want to, but at the same time there's always the consideration of experience, of course. And experience is valuable if you're trying to level, so getting whatever experience you can is always ideal. Just getting rid of the hellhounds. I'm not necessarily already keen on having them breathing on me. They can't really do any damage because of course his reflex saving throw. So it checks for magical resistance first, or spell resistance I think it's called, then saving throw, and then of course the damage reduction from our ring of elemental resistance will kick in, so any damage taken will be greatly reduced. It will be reduced by 15, and considering the amount of damage the Hellhound's breath can do, we're good. Always quick save ahead of opening a chest, which had some thieves tools, and to be honest I am definitely getting to the point where I just certain items I just can't be bothered picking them up, even though they are items you can sell. As I mentioned in the update part I did some time ago, I had actually completed the entire game, and it was close on 120 episodes, and I wasn't happy about it. That's why I decided to scrap it, which seems perhaps a bit excessive. But my channel is not necessarily meant for those kind of long series, and because most of the slowdowns would be side questing, I decided to scrap everything. Take the lessons that I learned, because of course, I mean, I have completed this game I think now 7 times in total, maybe more, but there's been a few years in between doing it, so having the run through of the entire game actually benefited me, because I learned from some grave mistakes I made. One of them being that a certain item I didn't pick up turned out to be a very, very important item for a side quest, and of course I couldn't re-access the area to pick up the item that I did not pick up the first time, because that item was related to another quest, and once that quest was done, access to that area was shut down. So that was a bit of a painful experience. It was also based on experience with beating the game again that I decided not to have a follower. I will speak to all the followers and I will get their stories and find their items for them and then progress that part of it. But outside of that, the intention is not to use a follower because it's 20% experience. And while I was initially very, very tolerant towards those 20% experience, Lino, which is my favorite NPC you can hire, unless you disable casting, which sort of counteracts the benefit of having her as a cleric alongside you. She will just, as people would no doubt have seen if they've watched the series, she will just buff fully every single time she sees a hostile rat. Which of course is not particularly beneficial. And of course the 20% experience over 2 chapters, 3 chapters, 4 chapters start becoming rather expensive. But anyway, we shut down the portal, and he is thanking us for not punching him in the face until his face comes off. So he offers us a reward for doing the quest and allowing him to live, basically. And that reward is a weapon we have absolutely no use for. He also offers us to get a portal so we can leave his tower without any other backtracking required, which is always nice. A dire maze. Hooray! That can be identified later. Again, it's not something we can use, so it's not important to this character. We could start fighting Mr. Troll Dude, but there's no real reason for it. So, coming up towards the end of this episode, so I'm going to say thanks for watching, take care, see you next time, bye bye for now.